Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 11.
A Portland State University student athlete was killed this afternoon in a shooting. The university named him as 22-year-old Deontay Strickland, a gifted basketball and football player. Good evening and thanks for joining us on NBC 16 News at 11. I am Alexis Thrower. Portland police say 2 other women were shot, but they're expected to survive. Tonight, the shooter, 30-year-old Tamina J. Strickland, has been arrested and taken to Multnomah County Jail. She faces charges of murder and attempted murder. Police did not link Tamina to Deontay, but family said she is his sister. As of now, it's not clear of the motive. Chris Lytle from our sister station in Portland has more.
I happened to be turning south on 42nd Street, heading towards Killingsworth. As I crossed over Holman, a kid was running down in the middle of the street. I didn't know what was going on. His arms were flailing and flapping as to kind of signal to stop me.
It's an image that's going to be hard to shake for Kenneth Carter.
All of a sudden, something must have kicked in, whether his injury was on him. He kind of reached down by his stomach. A whole bunch of blood starts pouring off of his mouth profusely. I mean, it was scary.
Carter, who was driving to work, says he called 911. The shooting victim, Deontay Strickland, ran into a nearby construction site for help. Construction workers there performed CPR, but they were unable to save him.
I hope I don't have nightmares from it, but I just want to help the family in any way that I can.
Strickland was a standout athlete at Central Catholic High School. He went on to play basketball at PSU and planned to play football for the Vikings this fall. He had aspirations of becoming a sports agent.
He's got a lot of family and friends out here in Portland that love him.
Strickland's family tells K2 the shooter is Deontay's sister. Relatives say she also shot 2 other family members before driving off.
I just hope and pray for the family, and definitely everybody's in my prayers.
President Trump today vowed to draw down the number of troops in Afghanistan. This as the U.S. is working on a potential deal with the Taliban to end America's longest war. NBC's Richard Engel now on the new questions being raised tonight.
Tonight, tentative progress to end the war in Afghanistan. Multiple sources with direct knowledge of peace talks between the U.S. and the Taliban tell NBC News the administration is prepared to withdraw thousands of American troops in exchange for concessions from the Taliban, including preventing Afghanistan from becoming a safe haven for terrorists, denouncing al-Qaeda, a ceasefire, and talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government. If met, the sources say the U.S. could draw down from 14,000 troops to between 8,000 and 9,000. The president today.
We're reducing it. We've been there for 19 years. We're really serving as policemen. We could win Afghanistan in 2 days or 3 days or 4 days if we wanted, but I'm not looking to kill 10 million people.
But there are many skeptics who worry the Taliban can't be trusted, that President Trump is pushing for a deal for a political win, and that leaving too quickly could lead to state collapse, like when President Obama pulled out of Iraq.
Now to Washington for new developments on the trade front. The president is threatening to hit China with more tariffs, and that could hit you right in the wallet. NBC's Susan McGinnis has more.
U.S. beef is headed to Europe under a new trade agreement announced today by President Trump.
This is a tremendous victory for American farmers, ranchers, and of course European consumers, because American beef is considered the best in the world.
But while that deal could ease tensions with the European Union, the trade war with China is escalating. The president says he'll impose a 10% tariff on an additional $300 billion worth of goods coming from China starting next month. The move could hike the costs of just about everything China exports to the U.S., from clothing to coffee makers, smartphones to sunglasses, guns to golf shoes, bicycles to baby products. The new tariffs would be on top of the 25% levy the U.S. already imposed on $250 billion of Chinese imports.
The tariffs are not being paid for by our people. It's being paid for by China.
But retail analysts say Americans could fork over more.
Companies are going to have to decide whether they want to pass on these costs or whether they want to eat the loss themselves. If they pass on the costs, you're going to see the prices of all sorts of things go up over the course of the next year.
China says it will retaliate if the president follows through, taking necessary countermeasures to defend its core interests. A trade war more than a year old, showing no sign of ending. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
On to a first look at weather. NBC 16's meteorologist Josh Kozart joins us now in the Weather Center. Now, Josh, as the Milepost 97 fire continues to burn, how's the air quality in our area?
Well, we're not back to normal completely, but we have seen improvements, especially with some cooler air that's made its way back into western Oregon. That Milepost 97 fire is now actually at 45% containment with the latest numbers coming in. But air quality is still poor with the air quality alert for parts of Douglas County and a very small sliver of Coos County until midnight on Sunday night. So if you have any outdoor activities, be mindful of that. But we are seeing increased humidity all across western Oregon, which is a good sign to see. And our winds at this hour on the calm, mild side of things. But we have a big warm up on the way and also some cooler temperatures just after we get over that hump of those hot, extreme summer-like temperatures. And I'll have more details on the activities expected later this week.
Thank you so much, Josh. And a pediatrician from Springfield says she's distressed by conditions she found at immigration facilities on the U.S. border with Mexico. NBC 16's Tom Adams has the details of Dr. Lauren Herbert's findings and how the team intervened on behalf of a woman and her family.
She's been a pediatrician for nearly 30 years and has built her practice around helping children of immigrant families. And Dr. Lauren Herbert was invited to accompany Ron Wyden on this inspection trip.
I feel like I need to do all I can to try to change the narrative about immigrants in our country.
They saw immigrants in ICE holding facilities and families in a shelter in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. This is video from a Sinclair story last March showing conditions in that crowded shelter facility. And that is where Wyden and Herbert encountered a woman 38 weeks pregnant in medical distress.
It did not seem that the shelter was a very good appropriate place for her to be.
But initially, U.S. immigration officers across the bridge in El Paso, Texas would not process their asylum claim.
They were saying that there was not any room. There was not, so they couldn't accommodate them. And so that's when Senator Wyden stepped in.
The woman finally received medical attention in El Paso. Now, Trump administration officials say they have tried to change the policies for the better at the border to keep more children together with their parents.
The Florida's agreement that the children can't be separated from their parents, but there may be a grandparent or an aunt.
Herbert explains those loopholes in the policy need to be fixed.
I don't think that's appropriate to separate any child from their parent figure.
She adds her biggest hope lies in Americans becoming more compassionate toward immigrant families and their plight. In Springfield, Tom Adams reporting.
Dr. Herbert works at Peace Health's Riverbend Hospital in Springfield. The medical group had no connection with the doctor's trip to the border area last weekend. The City of Eugene launches a new online engagement platform, making it easier for you to contribute your ideas. Engage Eugene is an interactive website that gives residents an opportunity to influence decision-making on local issues and projects. The website has surveys, polls, and other ways to provide opinions. City of Eugene spokesperson Brian Richardson explains why Engage Eugene was developed.
So we can get people who may not necessarily come to the open houses, who may not come to the city council meetings, those types of traditional outreach events, giving them a platform and an opportunity to be able to weigh in on a lot of the projects that we're offering, that we're looking for engagement on.
We'll have a link to Engage Eugene on our website at NBC16.com. Coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, we hear from a man who lost his home in the mobile home park fire in Goshen. Plus, a dentist in North Bend is providing free dental care. More on his annual Dental Day event.
It's exposing patients to drugs that are they're the newest drugs, so we often know the least about their safety because they haven't been on the market for a while. And often there are older alternatives that may be equally effective and safer, and because those drugs aren't advertised, because the generic drug industry doesn't do this type of advertising, it can worsen public health overall.
You may see a drug ad almost every time you watch TV, and the FDA is now planning a new study on TV advertising of prescription drugs. An in-depth look at drug advertising and whether it does more harm than good. Sunday on Full Measure with Cheryl Atkinson.
Find your new best friend.
The 16 News at 11.
Goshen residents in the CV Loop mobile home neighborhood are recovering from a fire that destroyed 3 homes yesterday. Officials say the fire was caused by improper disposal of smoking materials. NBC 16's Angelina Dixon tells us how one of the residents are coping.
This is what's left after 3 mobile homes went up in flames on Thursday. Memories burnt to a crisp. This, for example, is a chair that Lou's son-in-law used to sit in every night.
Lou Ferguson says he has lived in the mobile home for over 17 years. And since the fire Thursday, he has nothing left of it. His belongings are all gone, including his wallet.
My driver's license card, my DOD card, my VA card, my Veterans Choice card, everything.
Still calming down from the destruction, he sits here in his neighborhood willing to recall everything that happened.
Smell of smoke. I thought it was the field that was on fire. And I come outside and it's Bob's place flaming up. I can see the flames coming over the top of it.
The fire started at his neighbor's home. The flames carried over to Lou's place and then to another neighbor's home. He says the American Red Cross has reached out to him, and he is now staying with his daughter and her husband. They plan to move away and live as a family.
Well, if something like this happens, help your neighbor out.
He says he may have lost everything, but he still has his life and his family. Reporting in Goshen, I'm Angelina Dixon.
Ferguson says the best way to maintain your mobile home park safety is to keep the brush away from it and to keep trash cans away from the home. While the Labor Department reports an increase in jobs, locally, Roseburg Forest Products had announced a round of layoffs at its plywood plant in Dillard. The company says about 90 people are being indefinitely laid off. About 50 of those workers immediately got job offers at other plants in Dillard and Riddle. The layoffs come amid what the company calls continued unfavorable conditions in the plywood market in North America.
It probably was not an easy decision because they won't let people go unless it's an absolute necessity.
In a statement, the company's senior vice president of operations, Jake Elston, said, after waiting for months for markets to improve, we have reached the point where a layoff is necessary to better match supply with weakened demand. Thanks to a dentist in North Bend, people on the South Coast who need it will be able to get free dental care. Above Dental is giving back to the community with its 4th annual Free Dental Day. People 18 and older can get a free cleaning, filling, or extraction.
And it's a great opportunity if it's something that you've maybe put off because of time or finances. It's a great opportunity to get started. You know, you have to start somewhere.
The Free Dental Day is Friday, August 9th. They see about 130 patients during the day. The service is provided on a first-come, first-served basis. Registration starts at 7:30 in the morning. They see patients from 8 o'clock to 5. Turning to weather now, NBC 16's meteorologist Josh Cozart is standing by for a look at what's coming up in your full forecast. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Alexis. I hope that you had a chance to enjoy the relatively cooler conditions across western Oregon today, because that's going to be a thing of the past as the mercury continues to rise. I'll let you know how hot we go coming up next.
The new guacamole double cheeseburger from Carl's Jr. is only meteorologist Josh Cozart.
Well, it was a warm one across western Oregon today, but most of the Willamette Valley actually made it up to about 88 degrees, giving us beautiful sunset shots just like this one. And yes, we did see a little bit increase in cloud coverage across most of our state today, but that's going to be a thing of the past, especially as some warmer temperatures make their way in just in time for our weekend. But our radar and satellite shows calm, quiet conditions, a sight that we don't necessarily want to see. We do want to see a little bit more rainfall than not, but that won't be the case for at least the next 7 days or so, unfortunately. But we will start to see some of the clouds decreasing through the overnight hours tonight. Temperatures will be on the mild and comfortable side. Eugene, Springfield area right around the 60-degree mark, along with Coos Bay, and then slightly warmer down towards Roseburg at 62 degrees. But our next storm maker, I guess you could say the hot weather, is going to be our big story as high pressure starts to build over the desert southwest. It has a clockwise rotation with it. So what it's doing is it's grabbing all of that dry, hot air from the deserts and bringing it right up into southern and western parts of Eugene or Oregon, and that's going to be continuing to keep our temperatures on the hot side. Our cooler air sits just north of the jet stream, and it's not going to be settling down any further south than what you see here. So get ready for some hot temperatures. As we kind of take our time through our Saturday and Sunday, you'll notice that we'll see increased clouds tomorrow. They'll quickly move out of here. Plenty of sunshine will be left behind for your Saturday, along with those warm, toasty temperatures. And then even into our Sunday morning, the coastal areas holding on to the clouds just a little bit longer. Temperatures will still remain above average for the next couple of days, but nowhere near the 90s that we're expected to see up and down the I-5 corridor. There you go. There's the hot temperatures right there. Our color contouring really screaming summertime as we see 93 degrees in Roseburg as you go up to Cottage Grove, close to that 90-degree mark. Eugene, Springfield area right around 88 degrees. Now, the National Weather Service is expecting to see western parts of Oregon at above average temperatures for the next 8 to 14 days. But as far as our precip goes, they're expecting to see average conditions for southern parts of Oregon, but as you make your way further to the north, slightly above average. But keep in mind, even the average itself isn't very much rain, as this remains one of our drier months out of the year. But for our extended outlook, the Eugene, Springfield area, yeah, not a drop of rain in our 7-day forecast. So if you're a sunny weather lover, then this forecast is just for you, because the summer temperatures are going to return. 91 degrees expected for your Sunday, and we should be sitting for our average right around 84 degrees. But as we take a trip out towards the coast, increased clouds for your Saturday and Sunday. We start to clear things out come the new work week. Temperatures still above average, right around the low 70s to upper 60s for us. And then finally out towards the Umpqua Valley, not a drop of rain in sight either. 94 degrees for your Sunday. Overnight temperatures are going to be on the low 60 end of things to the upper 50s for us. So Alexis, it's going to be hot and it's going to be dry for the next 7 days.
But you know what? That's still not even bad to me, because you know, I hear about people in California and they're suffering like 110-degree temperatures.
Yes. So we got to take
we're kind of lucky.
Very lucky.
I know there used to like a lot of rain here for a lot of people who live in Oregon, but or originally from Oregon. But I just love the sun.
Yeah, soak it in while you can, because we know what's later to come.
Right, yes. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate it. And recent fires and evacuations are serving as a reminder that it pays off to be ready to leave in an emergency. There are 3 evacuation levels. Number 1 is ready. In other words, preparing for evacuation. Number 2 is set, or prepare to leave at a moment's notice. And number 3 is go, where you would leave immediately. Lane County Emergency Manager Patience Winningham tells us that our community outnumbers our resources.
And that's why it's important that community members become informed, first responders, right? Because they are the bystanders that can support their community, their neighbors, their families.
She continues that someone should have at least 2 weeks worth of food and supplies in an emergency where you need to stay at home. And if you need to evacuate, you should have important documents such as your insurance copies. It's all best to keep in mind what is and isn't replaceable, like photos. Umpqua Bank is lending a hand to those affected by the Milepost 97 fire. The bank is offering disaster relief loans to help those with short-term repair expenses, a major purchase, or other needs. The loans are offered at a reduced rate. Those who qualify can receive up to $10,000.
Our goal is not to make money here, but really to help people. The disaster relief program has a 0% interest rate for the first 90 days, and then it's just 1.99% after that.
Callahan says the fire hits close to home because the bank was founded in Canyonville. The disaster relief loans are available at Umpqua Bank in Canyonville, Myrtle Creek, and Glendale.
Oregon football reported for day 1 of fall camp early Friday morning. We know the team has high expectations heading into the season, but what concerns does head coach Mario Cristobal have? That and more next in sports.
great riches will find you.
In Sports Desk is brought to you by Three Rivers Casino Resort.
Saturday will mark exactly 4 weeks until the Ducks will be in Arlington, Texas for a marquee showdown with Auburn. As for right now, though, it's just baby steps, and that's what we saw on the HGC practice fields, the very first fall practice for the 2019 Oregon Ducks. There are high expectations for this team, but head coach Mario Cristobal was asked if he had any concerns as practices begin.
It's almost the way we operate. That word just doesn't appear much, and I'm not trying to cliche it in any way, shape, or form. I feel good about the fact that the culture is strong. So any deficiencies in personnel, any catch-up in scheme, I just think that culture and people will always trump scheme any day of the week. And at the level that they're bringing it to the table and at the level that our players are digesting it, I feel strong. I feel strong about the direction. I feel strong about the approach, the way we attack the opportunity. And really, we like to enter camp and leave camp aggressive and confident.
And focused, not on their week 1 matchup against Auburn, though, but on themselves. Cristobal said the team will take 10 days out as the starting point for when they start installing the Auburn game plan. But now it's about improving Oregon. One player with a unique perspective on the Auburn game is senior guard Dallas Warmack, who transferred from Alabama, so he has memories of playing Auburn.
Auburn, it's always good. Auburn versus Alabama, it's always a great game, and I'm excited to be a part of it this year versus Oregon versus Auburn, so it's going to be good.
We're very excited for, the first game, obviously, but I think that it's really important for the whole program to, just focus on ourselves during this, fall camp, at least for, the first 3 weeks, and then once we get into Auburn game prep, we'll start focusing on them.
On the flip side, Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn told his guys to worry about the big picture later. Oregon is the focus right now. And right now for Oregon State football, they have their sights set on improving their offense in day 2 of fall camp. This is a Beaver squad that last season had a fairly balanced offense, averaging over 249 passing yards and 155 rushing yards per game. The Beavs also had several guys emerge as playmakers, but needed a bit more depth, particularly at the wide receiver spot. Luckily, offensive coordinator Brian Lindgren says heading into the 2019 season, that's no longer an issue.
Yeah, I think just being able to keep those guys fresh, and I think last year where guys got a little bit tired and we had to go to our second wave of receivers, we dropped off a little bit. And so I think anytime you get depth and guys are able to get tired, we're able to get some fresh legs in there, and you feel really confident as coaches that you don't have to limit your menu of plays. So I think just the confidence that the coaching staff has.
That's it for sports. Back to you.
Coming up next on NBC 16 News at 11, we've got some cuteness overload of a dog and a cheetah cub coming out of Cincinnati, Ohio. The cub has a new foster parent. This is Chris. She is the lone survivor of a litter of 3 born at the Cincinnati Zoo in July. Her mother isn't producing enough milk, so zoo staffers are bottle feeding her. But humans can't teach Chris animal etiquette. That's where Blakely comes in. He's an Australian shepherd who has fostered several cheetahs, as well as foxes, wallabies, a warhog, and a litter of Malayan tiger cubs. Blakely had retired in 2017, but was brought back to take care of Chris.
So sweet.
I love that. So sweet.
I'd watch it all night.
Well, thank you for watching NBC 16 News at 11. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Make a Dunkin' run for a $2 pick-me-up and avoid the afternoon draft.